Sup guys, I'm back, and today we have a narrated battle that's not live, and it's on Showdown this time because that's where the replayer is now. Let's just start by going through this team preview. It's a UU battle against a guy by the name of, or girl possibly, by the name of OnionChild, and this person has a very stereotypical UU team, I guess, very standard. We can see the defensive pokes will probably be Slowbro for sure with its Regenerator, and then specially defensive could either be Roserade or even Togekiss depending on the builds. Darmanitan could be Scarfed. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of Bandit anymore, and looking at his team it looks like a Scarfed kind of Pokemon. It could also be Life Orb if he doesn't want to run Scarf, because sometimes Scarf has reliability issues. You don't want to be locked in on a move. Bisharp is probably just a standard subset with, it might be like Substitute, Swords Dance, Iron Head, Sucker Punch, or something like that. Togekiss, like I said earlier, it might be a special defensive one. Could have Thunder Wave, could be Specs with Echoed Voice, but it's been a long time since I've seen that. Roserade might be Toxic Spikes. What else could it be? Probably Toxic Spikes with either Giga Drain or Leaf Storm and Black Sludge. It could also be a lead set with Focus Sash, but I doubt it. And then we have the Rhyperior with all of his bulk and his physical movesets. He'll probably be like either a sub or a rock polish. He could set up rocks, but I don't really see a whole lot of that in UU. So let's get into the battle. So here I'm going to lead off with an Azelf. It's a Life Orb set with mostly special moves and Ice Punch. He's going to lead off with Rhyperior. I'm going to switch out into Hitmontop to resist any of the hits that Rhyperior wants to throw at me and get an Intimidate off to weaken any damage. Then here I'm going to go for the Toxic on the switch, and I catch the Slowbro coming in, which is really nice because that'll lower his survivability. And then the Slowbro here is going to go for the Thunder Wave, and I am not going to actually predict that. I was predicting a Scald, but I still go into Flygon to resist the hit, or actually to be immune to the hit. And this is a Banded Flygon, so I'm just going to go straight out for the U-turn to try and get some solid damage, which does a pretty good, almost 40%. And here I'm going to go into the Raikou to try and finish off the Slowbro as he just slacks off. And here I'm going to go for the middle ground Hidden Power Grass in case he wants to go into Rhyperior to be immune to the electric hit. But instead he goes into Roserade, which reveals that my Hidden Power is Grass, not Ice. Here I go into Melodic as he makes a double, or as he hits me with a Sludge Bomb, which is doing a decent amount of damage, especially since I am specially defensive. Here he goes into Togekiss as I switch out into my Arcanine. I was predicting the Bisharp, but he went into Togekiss instead. Then here I'm going to go into Raikou because I want to try and get some damage on that Togekiss as he goes into Rhyperior and makes a nice switch there. Now here he's going to predict the Hidden Power Grass correctly as he goes into Roserade when I go for the Hidden Power Grass, and since I'm locked in I have to switch out. So now I go into Flygon as he misses the Sleep Powder, and here I'm going to reveal that I have the Fire Punch, which he's going to take very nicely with his defensive Regenerator Slowbro, even though it's a Choice Banded Fire Punch. And here I'm going to have to switch out since I'm Choice locked in, and I'm going to go straight into Azelf. This was a pretty stupid play because the Thunder Wave was really obvious, especially because he knew I had to switch out into something. And it really would have been nice if this Azelf could not have been paralyzed later in the match. But here I make a pretty dumb play and I go for Psychic, where I could have gone for Thunderbolt. I don't know what I was predicting there. I think he was I was thinking he knew I had the Thunderbolt and he would go into a Roserade. But it makes up for a bit of misplaying here by critting the Bisharp with Thunderbolt, and then he goes right into Roserade and he takes me out with a Leaf Storm. Now here I don't see any Life Orb, I don't see any leftovers or Black Sludge or anything, so I'm suspecting a sashed lead. So I just go for the Volt Switch here, and he's already at half of his special attack, but then he hits me with a Leaf Storm, and that does almost 80%. So at this point I'm suspecting that he's Specs, which is something to play around in the future. Here I'm going to go for the U-turn to get off some nice damage on anything that comes in. I think that could have taken out the Roserade too, since the Choice Banded hit. Now I bring in Raikou, and I really want to go for the electric move, and I believe I do. Yeah, oh, just kidding. I go for the Hidden Power Grass, expecting the Rhyperior to come in. I thought he was going to play a little differently this time, but I guess I was playing a little obvious. So this time he goes for the Encore, which is something I don't see a whole lot, because he wants to lock me in on Hidden Power Grass since he resists it. And then he Thunder Waves my Melodic, which is an interesting play, because Melodic is not a fast Pokemon in general, plus it gets the Marvel Scale boost for getting a status condition. But I do score the burn with Scalds, which is going to help lower the survivability of this Togekiss. So then I bring in my Raikou here, and he goes for the Wish, which is also something I don't see. And here he'll probably pass it off to something like Roserade, which is exactly what he does. He comes in with Roserade, and I should have seen this coming. I just went for the Volt Switch, and I didn't even realize after the turn that the Roserade got the whole Wish back, and that's really unfortunate. So here I'm going to go for the Choice Banded Fire Punch again, but he makes a good play and goes right back into his Slowbro to resist the hit. And at this point my Flygon doesn't have a whole lot of switching in it can do, while being like a whole lot of safe switching to do anymore. So I just go right back out into Melodic because he's going to predict a switch with the Thunder Wave, but my Melodic's already paralyzed, so that works out great. Now he's going to switch out into his Roserade. Well, I think I go for the Ice Beam here. Yes, I predict that very nicely. But there's still no item on him, so I think he's just going to be Specs with Leaf Storm. And yeah, I don't think that Leaf Storm would have taken me out because I'm max HP, max special defense, and so here I'm almost positive he's Specs. So I bring in Arcanine pretty safely, and I think he goes into Rhyperior. Yeah, and I just go for the Flare Blitz, and I think this is a Life Orb Arcanine with Flare Blitz, Wild Charge, Extreme Speed, and Close Combat. And I think I switch out back into Hitmontop because remember the first turn. I know that this Rhyperior is a really offensive variant, so I just get the Intimidate off so he can't really do anything to me, and I just go for the Close Combat to see how much it'll do, so I can also judge whether he's like a max speed with Rock Polish or if he has HP or defensive investment, and he ends up just going for the Stealth Rocks, maybe predicting a switch or something. Here I go into Raikou, and I think he double switches. Yeah, he double switches into Togekiss, which is totally fine with me because I can just go for the Volt Switch pretty freely. I end up just going for the Thunderbolt because I figure he doesn't really have a whole lot to do with his Togekiss anymore, so he might just leave it in his Death Fodder. Then he brings in Darmanitan, and I'm thinking that Darmanitan is Scarf, so I go out to Hitmontop to intimidate the Darmanitan, and he ends up going for the Flare Blitz, and it does 66%, which is making me think this guy is Choice Banded. So I switch out, and I go into my Arcanine to get another Intimidate off, so I can cut his attack in half. But he makes a very nice prediction and just goes straight for the Earthquake, and that's where I find out that he has Life Orb. So now I go into Flygon, and I don't know what the speeds are. I'm not good at calculating speeds, but I think I just go for the Earthquake. Yeah, because Earthquake will hit anything on his team now that Togekiss is gone. So Choice Banded Earthquakes are coming off now, and I think I'm going to keep going for them on the Slowbro as he goes for the Thunder Wave, predicting the switch initially, thinking that I might save my Flygon. And I think he slacks off on the next turn after this Earthquake. And then I'm going to go for one more Earthquake after that as he takes me out with a Scald, I believe. And you can see that Toxic's really helpful because it's just wearing him down slowly, so that something else can come in and possibly Revenge Kill it. So yeah, now he's down to 12%, so if he recovers then he won't recover by a whole lot. Here I bring in Hitmontop, and I make a pretty stupid play by going for the Close Combat because he had the potential to slack off right here, and that probably would have lost me the match right there. But instead he just goes for the Psyshock, and he will die to the Toxic Poison. So now it's just my Specs Raikou versus his Roserade and his Darmanitan, and I'm pretty sure Roserade is not Scarfed, and as long as I can outspeed that, I can win the match. So I just go for the Thunderbolt on that, and we found out Darmanitan's Life Orb, so I should be able to take out the Darmanitan, which I do with Thunderbolt, and that will be the game. So that was a pretty narrow 1-0 victory on my part. It's a really interesting team. I have the nice double Intimidate from Hitmontop and Arcanine that really helps out against physical Pokemon. Like for him, his Rhyperior was pretty much useless in the game because he had the double Intimidate going on. And clearly that helped out a lot because his Rhyperior could have done some pretty good damage to like my Raikou and Megahorn on the Azelf and to the Arcanine. And if he was carrying, like, I don't know, elemental punches, he could have done Thunder Punch to the Melodic and Ice Punch to the Flygon. But that was a pretty good game. I'll probably start doing a few more of these narrations. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.